Good evening. We're going to be led in the pledge by Ms. Green. No? Mr. Lamar.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please take a moment.
Roll call, please.
Ms. BOE,
Present.
Mr. Borgarelli,
Here.
Mr. Duray, Ms. Green, Mr. Howard, Mr. Lamar,
Here.
Mr. Levinstein, Ms. Paletti, Mr. Strader.
Here. Going to item 2, public comment on agenda items. It's 5 minutes per speaker maximum, and please refrain from using names and keep it civil, please. Thank you. Ms. Chelsea Ryan.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Ryan. I am a 10th grade student at NFA campus. The reason I came to speak tonight is about my spot on the JV girls basketball team. On November 17th, I was cut from the team. You should know that I played on the team last year. I understand that just because I played on the team last year, I'm not automatically entitled to a spot on the team this year. I believe I've proven myself to be dedicated to self-improvement and have worked hard and beyond the best of my ability. For these reasons and many more which I will discuss, I believe I should not have been cut. I have been playing basketball since I was 10 years old, on town, AAU, and school teams. I played basketball for Newburgh schools since 8th grade. I wanted to play modified in 7th grade, but that was a COVID year. My opinion on how there can be up to 15 players on a Section 9 team, and the coach only fielded 10 players on November 17th, but then invited one of the cut players the following week. I'm sorry to say that was ridiculous and, to be honest, very unfair. More information that I think everybody needs to know is that the team as it stands now is made up of only 8th and 9th graders. I am not calling anyone out, but the fact that these individuals have 1 or 2 more years to play on JV, but next year I'm compelled to try out for varsity puts me at a huge disadvantage. How do you expect me to try out and hopefully play for varsity if I'm not given the opportunity to play my last year of JV eligibility? If I'm not going to practices, getting on the court, being taught the game, and improving my skills, how do you expect me to progress to varsity? When myself and the other 4 girls were pulled into the office to be cut, the coach spoke to us and told me that I have to work on my game more. The fact that I came to all but 2 of the preseason workouts on Saturdays and weeknights after schools shows my sincere dedication. I've also invested my additional time practicing at Chadwick Lake Park. I feel this shows that I have put in the hard work required to be on this team. I plan to play ball in college. I love the game and I want to learn so much about it. I understand that everyone wants to win, but what about teaching student athletes about how to play the game correctly and developing their skills? I understand that we want to win, but maybe it's not all about winning. Maybe it's about sportsmanship. Maybe it's about dedication. Maybe it's about educating student athletes. I want to be on this team. I want playing time on the court. I want to be developed into a varsity player. It's okay if I make mistakes. It's okay if I miss a basket. It's okay if I'm not a superstar on this team. The best teams are made up of players of all different skills and levels. I'm here to continue to represent Newburgh. I'm hoping after all you have heard tonight, in careful consideration, you will work with the athletic department and find a spot for me on this team. Thank you very much for your time and consideration, and have a good evening.
Mr. David Ryan?
So I'm going to speak on a similar topic. So you're making a consideration tonight about some staff, and that's your decision to make. But I think, well, let me just step back for a second. Talk about shouldering up, right? I mean, in Newburgh, we talk about shouldering up. This young lady just shouldered up. So Chelsea said it herself, just because you're on the team last year does not mean you're on the team next year. That should go for the coach as well. Just because you were the coach last year doesn't mean when someone who's in a superior union at a better position and more qualified should not get that consideration that they've been afforded. Consider that as you make your decision tonight. I think we spent a lot of time, and I kind of see the board moving in a better direction lately, but we spent a lot of time wasting our energy on things that aren't about the kids. Let's be there for the kids. This is about the kids, not just my kid. I mean, I'm very proud of her for coming here and speaking up for herself tonight, but this is what you want to raise. You want to raise people that are confident and secure in themselves and enough to come over here and speak publicly in front of a couple of people in the room and whom knows how many watching. And think about the contracts that we have in place. And I'm glad to hear that we're close to getting a contract for the teachers. I chastised you severely, I think, at times, for not having a contract in place before school started and over the last couple of months. And I'm really pleased to hear that we're very close to a deal now. So consider how those contracts are written. Consider the applicant that will speak to you in a little bit and how she is more superior qualified, maybe not in skill set, but her political position in her union. That's just the way our system works. And you need to consider that as you go forth. What I'm asking you is not to put us in a position where that individual might have other recourse. Let's not waste our taxpayer dollars on another frivolous venture when the right path is set right before you. It clearly states that the teachers union trumps the CSEA, and I'm a large supporter of both. I have nothing against either union. But to know that the teachers union trumps the CSEA and that you may be considering an applicant who is in the CSEA over the NTA applicant concerns me greatly, because that's going to put that NTA constituent in a position where they may exercise some of their other rights. And as a taxpayer, I don't want to be in that position. So I would ask, in the little time that I have remaining, that you give serious consideration to what my daughter had to say tonight. She's appealing to you as administrators. She's tried the normal route. She's spoken to her, she's spoken to the coaches and did not get anywhere. We've attempted, which you all know by email, to reach out to the athletic director, who, for whatever reason, did not have time to speak with us. So now we're coming to the board, and we're asking you as our elected representatives and as our administrative representatives, as our superintendent, to step in, which is your role after every other course has been tried. We're not making noise, we're not getting loud, we're not just asking, for the process to be followed and to give serious consideration and to understand that the Section 9 basketball rules does allow for 15 players. And to have 10 invited and then to invite an 11th the following week is a slap in the face to a player that's been on this team and shown time and dedication and has put in every bit of effort possible. I thank you for your time. I wish you a lot of luck in your deliberations tonight. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah for those that celebrate, and have a good winter. Thank you.
Miss Deborah Boulay.
Deb Boulay, Newburgh, resident for over 33 years, 17 plus years as a teacher in this district. Paid over $180,000 in school taxes to this district, at times having to work 4 jobs at the same time as a single parent to keep a home and to keep going after my stroke. My children all went through Newburgh schools, volunteered for several years in a domestic violence agency, local, Kairos prison ministry, and more. Yes, I am heavily invested here. I live here, and I will most likely be laid to rest here. Today is deja vu all over again. Last May, myself and my 2 running mates spoke publicly about not allowing contract extensions for the assistant superintendents of finance, human resources, special education, as their contracts were not due and the raises that were asked for were not substantiated by proof of performance. And in one instance, the request for tenure was unearned. A quorum of that board, 5 votes, approved it all. This year, only the assistant superintendents seated here and higher earn in salary, not including longevity pay and benefits as listed publicly on the NYSET site, $1,740,294. Yet, not one of them can answer any of my questions that I have asked repeatedly since July 6th. These are questions whose answers should inform the way in which I vote. They are valid. I submitted 28 questions regarding exceptional learners, 23 of which required little time, if any, to answer. All are unanswered. I submitted 7 questions regarding finance, 6 of which should have answers readily available. There's still no accounting of COVID dollars that answer particular questions about what jobs were created with this money that can't be sustained and may require layoffs this school year, and details that would bring transparency. All remain unanswered. If we had those answers, we, the board, the district leaders, could have already begun cutbacks on conferences or other items that do not impact student learning to save money, to save student services. 16 questions I submitted to Human Resources, 8 of which should have been readily available. I received no answers. 4 in CNI, including what the plan was to teach thousands of kids at the high school who read below grade level, some at a 2nd grade reading level or lower. It's now December and there is no plan. I was forced to FOIL the information, even though I was advised that I should be able to just ask it as a board member. When a board member asks a question, especially a question for which there is an answer, or when there's a request to receive a report that is mandated to be done and therefore assumed to be done and there is no response, that's a problem. Dozens of FOILs, delays, 20 days, and finally file an appeal with the Deputy Superintendent, Ms. Boulay. The Deputy Superintendent is on this agenda to obtain a contract extension until the end of 2027. It includes a $10,000 raise now, then a raise 7/124, another 7/125, another 7/126. The salary will rise to $267,717, and then an additional $17,000 a year to be given in longevity pay on top of benefits. Just the salary portion equals a raise of about $40,000 over 2 years. Our graduation rate from last year has not been announced, yet a similar school district in this county shared theirs with me in July. We don't know if we will again be at the bottom of the list in the county. We don't know the reading scores of students because they're not released to us. With no information on performance, we're being asked to approve this tonight and trust until 2027. 5 votes, that's what he needs. The review is not even due now. We should not be entertaining this conversation until his contract is nearing its end, after the budget process is over. We don't have signed contracts for CSEA or NTA. In fact, the subs are a year behind the rest in getting a contract, but he can ask for a raise ahead of them and before he's entitled to receive it. 5 votes. Can teachers or CSEA workers come to the board years before their contracts are up and ask for more money and benefits? Of course not. Every Goldback every day does not apply to every Goldback. Lord, please turn this ship around right now. Realign this board, remove the biases of people who don't even recognize they run off of them. Open their eyes, open their ears through you. I have faith that we as a board can get this together and lead effectively even when we disagree or worse. Amen.
Ms. Sarah Williams.
How you doing this evening? My name is Sarah Williams. A little nervous about this, but I was a former player in Newburgh Free Academy. I never played modified. I was on JV in 7th grade. I played JV 8th grade. I was in varsity 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Graduated, went to Daytona State, a Division I JUCO. Came back home just to give back to my community. This year I had coached 14 under AAU. I coached the modified girls basketball team as well. I'm a TA, a teacher assistant at Horizon on the Hudson for pre-K. I applied for the JV position last year and I did not get it. Why I did not get it, I didn't know. I was just happy that I got modified and I was fine with that, as long as I was given back. I took my time and practiced with these girls all summer long, traveled with them, had them going to different tournaments, seeing things that they never seen before. I had a former player from Newburgh Free Academy as well invite me to play against his team from Switzerland. So I put these girls, I dedicate these girls. I'm a single parent. I took my time and did what I had to do just to make them better to try out for the team. I was told last year when I didn't get the job, I didn't get a job for another candidate that they held the position for 3 months when I was 100% certified, where I sat in my room, emailed Terry Kramer, literally, I feel like every day, to the point where she was out sick and she still got back to me and told me she would expedite everything that I needed for me to be certified. And still, I didn't get the position. They held the position for someone that was not certified until 3 months later, which was January. I was certified in October. When it came to my attention that because of the position that I held in the district, my union, that I should have had first dibs over the job. I did not know that. I did not say anything. I kept it to myself. But I was being told that as the months went on. This year, same thing. I applied for the JV position. I didn't get the position. I was told that I didn't get the position because I have things going on. I never been reprimanded at work. I never had a letter. I never was called down to the principal office. I never was called down here. My job is fine. I go to work every day. I never, nothing ever went wrong at my job. So I'm not for sure what I have going on that anybody else don't have going on in their personal lives that they won't have a job. And I'm just here to say, I gave my all to these girls. I have girls texting me, telling me they didn't think they was going to make the team. I think I did a great job. I have 6 girls that was on my modified team that made JV. I have 2 that was from Warwick that made varsity. I have 1 from Cornwall that made varsity. So I think my resume speaks for itself. And I came down here today. I was very nervous because I can't talk in front of people, and I had so many things written down that I just ended up throwing the paper out. But I just wanted to be heard because, I don't understand why not me. I walked the streets of these girls. I walked the high school of these girls. I did a lot with these girls, I was in their position before when I was in varsity. Something like Chelsea, having to speak in front of the board when a coach put their hands on me. And I feel like that's what's happening to me right now. Because I feel that because of that same coach that I had in 9th grade is the varsity coach. I don't know if it's not that he don't want me to coach. I don't know what his grudge is against me. But I applied for the position, and he asked multiple teachers that didn't want to coach, can they do it because I was applying. I have messages, I have emails of other teachers coming to me telling me this. And I want it to be fair. If I didn't get the job because somebody was overqualified than I was or have the experience that I have, and I'm okay with that. I'm big on fairness. But nothing about this whole situation was fair. So I decided to come tonight just to speak on what happened to me last year, to piggyback on what's going on this year, and just hope you guys can understand what's going on and just, yeah, pretty much just hear me out. That's all. All right.
Mr. Harold Rayford.
How you guys doing? Coach Harold Rayford, Newburgh raised, graduated Newburgh Free Academy, run a program called Newburgh Zion Lions for over 30 years. Excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. Zion Lions for over 30 years. Excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. But the last time I was here, I said I would never come back to a school board meeting since the last time in 2009 when I brought the boys basketball scandal to light. And here we go again. We're kicking this can down the road again. Some faces I see that are still the same. You hear what Sarah said? Sarah coached for me. Sarah coached under the Zion Lions. Sarah did a heck of a job. She gave up her weekends. She worked hard with these girls. And the main thing that she said tonight was they held a position for somebody last year that wasn't even certified, and she still didn't get the job. And she come back this year, and she didn't get it? Enough of the politics, please. The backdoor talking, the buddy-buddy stuff. Let's get that out. It's hurting our kids. I've been doing it for 30 years. It's hurting our kids. It's hurting our community. We have to put the right people in the right position for our kids. And our teachers, yo, they are the best. We got to look out for them. We got to support them. We got a great superintendent here. But how long are we going to keep kicking this can around down the road with these sports? This has been going on for years. You got a young lady here. You got 11 people on the team. You cut her? I kept 19 kids, and I made it work. This got to stop. Please. I don't want to come back here. I don't even like coming here talking like this. But when is enough enough? And some of you guys around this table know what I'm talking about, because you've been down this road with me before. We have to stop kicking this can in our sports department. So many issues going on. I hear the JV coach is not there now. He had a tryout, and he's not there. What is going on? Do you guys really know what's going on? We have to find out what's going on in our schools. Please go visit the schools. Go talk to these kids. See what's really going on. And I know Coach Sarah is qualified for this position. I know it. I watched her in action. She went to school with my daughter. She graduated with my daughter. She played on the same team with my daughter. She came back to coach in my program. And if you guys don't know about my program, we run a very disciplined program. And our grades do come first. You have to be passing to play on our AAU team or our travel team. The rec teams is something totally different. But when is enough going to be enough? So I'm asking you, reconsider. Go behind closed doors, throw the buddy-buddy, the friend stuff out, and make the right decision. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on agenda items? Okay, we're going to move to non-agenda items. Ms. Politi.
I would like to address the violent posts, vitriol, and lies being spread online by the pen name Daniel Baez. Specifically, I'd like to address things with you, Mr. President, since you seem to be the most closely affiliated, as witnessed by your apparent sharing of confidential information, tagging, and communication with each other in the public domain. For the past few months, I have been the focus of a smear campaign to attack my character and my career by you, Mr. President, you, Madam Vice President, Mr. and Mrs. Lamar, and your alias, affiliate, nom de plume, choose whatever fits, Daniel Baez. Let me clarify some points. Number one, yes, I am a real teacher, Madam Vice, with 22 years teaching experience, longer than your tenure in the profession, with a master's in special education and administrative certifications. Number two, no, I have not been offered a deal for employment by the superintendent. I cannot be employed by a district where I serve on its board, and I'm not going anywhere. Number three, I have not sold out any children in this district, including my own, or whatever that rhetoric means. Number four, I am not a change coat. When you discover that you've been lied to, do you keep defending that lie or seek to repair? It's curious that I'm not the only one who discovered this on this board. The smear campaign started when I didn't blindly agree with the dangerous proposals to policy and throwing out existing curriculum with nothing in its place. Rumors started about my daughter and attempts to discredit me as a professional. I have been referred to as a prostitute, garbage human being, and a piece of, well, you can fill in the blank. Most recently in the Daniel Baez media posts, I have been threatened with, I hate your guts, I wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire, and I will be watching the way you vote on Tuesday, and if you don't vote the right way, I will be aggressive. We clearly have different definitions of what the right way is. The right way for you is do what I say or else. I have some bad news. This board will not side with you, and we're here for the long haul. We can't be coerced into going along with the educational malpractice you suggest, the fiduciary irresponsibility, the firing of senior staff, and the lies you spread about our district to pit the community against anyone who doesn't agree with you. Your new game of smoke and mirrors is pretending you are fighting a pro-women battle against the alleged nefarious district. You and your cronies cannot pretend to be pro-women and behave this way. Mr. President, you have called me names to my face and told me to get my nails done and my nasty up to belittle me in front of my colleagues and senior staff. You have tried to humiliate the superintendent on the floor numerous times. You have made a young woman and a team of young female athlete scholars pawns in your game. You apparently don't care about their feelings, well-being, or livelihoods. You execute career and character assassination. You have launched numerous unsuccessful litigations against the school district. You have caused numerous hours of precious administrative time in response to your litigation and misstatement of facts and events. You are hardly the hero that you portray yourself to be. Your behavior as president and member of this board has been plainly despicable. Thank you.
Reverend Dr. Dolianne Briggs.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Dolianne Newkirk Briggs. I pastor the Baptist Temple Church here in the city of Newburgh, and I also am the president of the Christian Ministerial Fellowship. And I have been in this area for the last 66 years. I have some questions that I want answered. You've asked the community members to participate in committees. I would like to know, Mr. President, what is your vision of how they will contribute to the growth of the Newburgh schools? How will this support collaboration with the administration? What are the time expectations of community members? What are the roles these community members would play in these committees? For example, will the community members have a voice and be privy to all of the aspects of the school board district, or will their involvement be limited? High-achieving organizations have a clear and shared focus, which is essential for growth. Dr. Manning Campbell is a superintendent and leader of your organization. How are you supporting her leadership? What strategies do you use to maintain the focus of this board on education, students, and staff retention? How does the president support the entire district? Newburgh has recently been embroiled in many negative, embarrassing social media posts that divide and upset our community. Has there been an honest reflection of members of this board on how their behavior takes the focus away from our students? What is the board's responsibility in defending the superintendent against defamation? What can you and this board commit to change about
your behavior? What will you change about your role in the negative social media post about our district? What progress can you make to this community that has made a better year for our students? Why are you supporting and promoting negative character assassination of our superintendent? May God have mercy on your souls.
Miss Sabrina Dolfinger.
Good evening. My name is Sabrina Dolfinger. I'm a special educator at Horizons on the Hudson. So I wanted to address you tonight to clear up something that was said at the last board meeting. So a board member thanked the NAACP for sponsoring the documentary, The Right to Read. That wouldn't be a problem normally. That wasn't the case. And every other time this documentary was mentioned, the person who actually did all of the work, Tanika McCullough, was named, even when she wasn't in the audience. So on this night, she was not mentioned. And to me, that made it seem like the NAACP, the organization, spearheaded the initiative. I believe that it was said so that the local NAACP, our president, who has been very vocal in support of the superintendent, it made it believe or appear that we were changing sides or against policies for this board. That is not the case. I'm going to read to you what the NAACP states on education. Since I'm not an official spokesperson for the regional, state, or national, I am just going to give you what's off the website, right? The NAACP position is to work to ensure that every disadvantaged student and student of color graduates ready for college or a career by ensuring access to great teaching, fair discipline, equitable resources, and challenging curriculum. We are dedicated to eliminating the severe racial inequities that continue to plague our education system. Our ultimate goal is that every student of color receive a quality public education that prepares him or her to be a contributing member of democracy. So that's the NAACP statement. Now this is just me speaking as myself. First of all, I'm sorry, I lost my pace. I appreciate the effort that was put into the documentary. And I understand that an NAACP activist was the catalyst for the documentary, and that there are some NAACP branches showing the movie. That is not the issue with this documentary, right? This documentary should not be used for grandstanding. It should not be used as a political weapon to hurt or embarrass anyone. If we are going to get serious about our children's reading, we need to work together. This didn't happen in 1 year. It did not happen on one superintendent's watch. It has been systemic. The policies of systemic racism have been here, not just in our district, right? It is not just our district where kids are struggling. If we are really going to address the issues of reading, we need to work together. We should not be pointing a finger at one person. The onus is not on just the superintendent, this administration, the teachers, the parents, or the students. It is a collective effort that we need to bring forth in order to get our kids reading. I was looking at some of the issues around the science of reading, right? Because that's a new buzzword, although it's been around. The practice of the science of reading, that information has been, I guess, over 50 years they've been talking about it. Aggregated data they've been looking at, over thousands of reports. And I wanted to see what was going on with that, right? So what I learned, right, going through some of the research, some of the things that stuck out, what is the science of reading? It's a collection of research. Research over time from multiple fields of study using methods that confirm and disconfirm theories on how children best learn to read. It teaches the five basic, teaching based on the five big ideas of phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. It is ever evolving, right? This is from the National Literacy Awareness website. There is new research and evidence all the time.
Ms.
As
Stolfinger?
populations,
Ms.
communities.
Stolfinger? I think they restarted the clock. You had 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
Thank
but
you.
You get the gist of my message. Thank you.
There's a name, Jesse, is it Roland or Howard? Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on non-agenda items?
Good evening. My name is Sade Burks, Vice President of the Newburgh Pan Alliance. I would like to speak on non-agenda and agenda items. My first topic is going to be about Ms. Sarah Williams. When I heard about her situation, a few days before social media took to it and turned it into this whole negative thing, I made a phone call and I said, what's going on with this Sarah Williams situation? Because people come to me because they see me at the board meetings every Tuesday advocating for the community, advocating for policies that I feel will be detrimental to the Black and brown children, scholars of this school district. So people email me, people message me, people send me stuff. So I feel it is my duty to bring these situations up when I hear about them, whether it's a phone call, whether it's coming to the board meeting. And my exact words, if this was done to her as a single woman and as a Black single mother, that is wrong. If she was not given this job because it was held for someone else when she has the qualifications of this job, that is wrong. And I stand behind her on that. I have a son who plays football. He loves his coaches. And when there is something going on and people are coming against the coaches, my first response is, these coaches are out here, they're volunteering their time to these kids, they're dedicating their time. They're not only teaching the kids on and off on the field or on the court, but they're teaching them life lessons off the court to keep them involved in their extracurricular activities. And if you take a coach away from a team and these kids love their coaches, you are doing a disservice to your scholars and to your students. So if I say that on a football field concerning my son's coaches, I say that tonight concerning Sarah. Sounds like these kids love her. She has her credentials. She has everything she needs. Why isn't she given the job? I stand behind Sarah on that. I have another topic. There was a lot of stuff going on social media. And I've sat here since last year and I've watched certain board members be attacked. No, let me correct that. I've watched all of you guys attack each other. People may feel that I'm on one side or the other. It doesn't matter. I will always speak for what's right, and I will always stand up for anybody that's being done wrong. People can feel whatever they want to feel and say whatever they want to say. I'm going to stand on my decision. I'm going to stand on my word. I'm always going to fight for what's right. As I went on that post and stated things that were happening, policies that were implemented to be changed, your board president got on there and contradicted everything I said, saying that I wasn't telling the truth, this is what was going on, all of this and all of that. I decided as an adult to get off the post. I made another post concerning a message that was sent to me. I don't feel the message was appropriate. I felt insulted by the message, and I felt it was condescending because I don't know this person like that. That message was sent, I'm going to say it because the whole world knows because I put it on social media, by the vice president. The vice president took it upon herself to message me and apologize, and I accept that. And her and I handled that situation privately. Why can't you guys all do the same? Thank you for messaging me and apologizing. Another thing I want to say, last year, a teacher made a social media post concerning a braid that was ripped out of a young black girl's hair while she was fighting. This teacher felt so comfortable and safe and protected by the district that she even went as far as to post her work, as to tag her workplace, Newburgh Free Academy, in her post, while her colleagues joined in, leaving more degrading and racist comments. This teacher was voted back to return to the district. I was at that particular meeting, and if I can remember, only 2 people, an ex-board member, Mr. Walker, said absolutely not, and a current board member, Phil Howard, voted not to bring her back. That's 2 out of 9 votes, which means 7 of the board members last year voted to bring this white teacher back. The teacher has now retired and is now collecting her pension. What a travesty. Back in 2021, a teacher at South Middle School made a comment. Everybody in the whole country already thinks that Black and Hispanic people do nothing but have babies, are dumb, or steal. And what did you all just do? You stole from me. You say that there, and you watch people steal from me. I'm not going to stop because I feel like what I'm saying needs to be heard. You sat there and you watched people steal from me. She was given a slap on the wrist, made to pay a $3,500 fine. The employees received training paid for by the district and was given a letter of reprimand by the district. Again, this teacher was voted back in by 7 members of the board. Your current board member, Mr. Darren Stridiron. One of the members that voted to have the judge take the decision to have her return, to appeal the decision and have her return, was Phil Howard. At least if a letter was given to appeal the decision of having her return, the school district would have been able to at least say we care enough about our children of color and marginalized community to not have a teacher that will make such degrading, hurtful, racist.
Would anyone else like to speak on non-agenda items? Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby recesses into executive session for the following purpose: to discuss collective bargaining with CSEA unit, SMOA, employment history of certain non-pedagogical employees, information relating to current or future investigation or prosecution of a criminal offense which would imperil effective law enforcement if disclosed. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Stridiron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Ms. Green? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
We return in approximately 1 hour.
Tonight, I would like to take a moment to comment on the labor negotiations that have concluded regarding 3 of the district's collective bargaining units, the teachers, teaching assistants, and the CSEA. While I can't give details before the union ratification votes, I would like to commend the negotiators representing our employees and the district's negotiators who joined me in the process of bringing these contracts to closure. Thank you. I can say with pride that we have hardworking and dedicated professionals in all of these bargaining units whose work is commended by me and most appreciated by all in our school community. Switching topics, I would like to publicly ask our board president when he will be launching an investigation against a Facebook page titled Daniel Baez. This morning, there was a post that shared a confidential email regarding a personnel matter. That email was only sent to 12 people, all of whom are sitting at this table. Our community should know which of our elected officials apparently shared confidential information. I want to be clear that this is just not a violation against one of our employees, but it violates all of our employees. Every single one of our employees needs to feel secure that confidential information about them will not also be shared with someone who is not authorized to have such information. Mr. President, I look forward to hearing your findings. Around the district, we have some updates to share. We launched the Yonder Pouch implementation at NFA North Campus today. All students received a pouch and kept their phones locked for the duration of the day. Overall, students were receptive to the new initiative. The instructional day, arrival, and dismissal occurred within our estimated time frame according to the plan developed by our high school principals. We are thankful for our faculty, staff, and students who supported the implementation and helped create a smooth first day. Overall, we were excited to see an increase in socialization in our cafeterias and look forward to the positive impacts this initiative will have for our learning environment. Prior to this meeting, we met with a range of community stakeholders for their thoughts and feedback with regard to priorities that we should consider when developing our budget for next year. I am thankful for those who attended as we continue to work together to focus on every goal back every day. Thank you. That concludes my items for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Manning Campbell.
You're welcome.
Move to the clerk of the board, Ms. Novotny, 6.1.
Thank you. I have the approval of minutes from November 14, 2023, regular meeting.
Can I have a motion and a second?
So, second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Novotny. Move on to the board president's section. President's update. There is no update for this meeting. Go to 7.2, Code of Conduct. It's a discussion item. It was put on the agenda because at this point, there are just a few questions to ask regarding the current Code of Conduct for the 23-24 school year. So before I ask questions, anybody else have any questions on the Code of Conduct? Okay. I'd like to know regarding the Code of Conduct whether there were any revisions at all to this year's Code of Conduct compared to last year's.
I'm sorry, I'll answer that question. I believe I provided an email response on or about September, I don't remember the date, to that very question, indicating with counsel, as a matter of fact, a statement from counsel that Mr. Shaw, who's sitting here, also reiterated that there were no substantive changes. So I've answered that question several times. Mr. Shaw, I don't know if you have anything else that you may want to add.
To my knowledge, it was a change in the date on the Code of Conduct. There might have been updates as to who were parties to report things to. That I don't recall offhand.
As far as the Code of Conduct, there were no changes proposed by the Superintendent's office, but the board never had an opportunity to provide their requests for changes and discussion at a public hearing. Mr. Shaw, could you talk about the public hearing process for the Code of Conduct and the process to get it sent to the Commissioner's office?
If there are to be substantive changes, then there must be a public hearing.
The board wasn't provided any opportunity to make any requests for changes to the Code of Conduct, and so Is the code of conduct required to be sent to the Commissioner's office every year?
I believe that copies of the codes are sent to the Commissioner's office.
Is it required to be signed for by anybody in particular to be sent to the Commissioner?
I have no idea. I don't know of any law or regulation that would be so granular about that.
Every year that I've been here, we've had a code of conduct public hearing, and suggestions were made by the board and by the administration for changes. This year, we were not provided the opportunity as a board to at least discuss and have a public hearing so that the public could also comment on maybe possible changes or suggestions for changes on the code of conduct. So I believe the process was hijacked this year, but it's up to the full board to determine whether or not we have a meeting on that. Any other questions on it?
Dr. Freeman Mack wants to respond. And I also want to say something about the words hijacked. Please be careful that we don't continue to go down this path of evaluating me. I'm not hijacking anything. Dr. Freeman Mack.
So the SAFE Committee met last year at least once per month. Mr. Baer was also involved in those meetings. As per the board president and the other members that met during the SAFE Committee, we went through and we looked at different things within the Code of Conduct, and we discussed and we agreed that we would make no changes. We also discussed that, I believe, at the September meeting that Dr. Campbell is referencing, where we explained the only things that were changed with the Code of Conduct were dates and board members' names. If the Code of Conduct is not changed at the SAFE Committee and then brought to the board with said changes, there's no need to send it anywhere else, sir.
Were there any SAVE committee meetings after July 6th?
No.
Thank you. Any questions on this item? Mr. Howard.
Yeah, just for clarification purposes. So when we say the Code of Conduct, there were no substantive changes. Can you clarify what that word means, what we're using with that word? When we say there were no substantive changes, that mean that there was nothing to be able to vote on? There was, what were the changes?
I think you heard from a representative on the SAVE committee that it was the names of the board members.
Board names.
Which is not a substantive change about the terms of the code. And the year was changed to be the current school year. That isn't substantive. That's the passage of time. So the document continues forward, but if there are to be substantive changes, then it must go through a public hearing process. The board always has the opportunity to change the code of conduct. So that's something for agenda setting between the super, the board president, in the presence of the board clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baer.
Just to clarify, so we're fully accurate here, the other change was DASA coordinators. They were updated based on changes in administration, the names of who is the DASA coordinators in buildings.
Thank you. Any other questions on the 7.2? Okay, we'll move on to 7.3. This item is regarding the NYSBA policy team, I believe Mr. Forge is calling it. Who selected the members of this policy team, and are these meetings open to the public and are minutes taken?
I believe what you're referring to is the contract with New York State School Boards Association to do a full policy review of the district policies. That was a contract that we entered into last December. There's a specific process and a protocol that's followed, and we engage with NYSBA to do this. You assemble a team that's representative of the district. On the team, I selected the union president for the Teachers Association, the union president for the Administrators Association, the union president for CSEA, and our director of family and community engagement. I also hope to have a board member at some point on that particular team. All we have done is assembled the team, coordinated the timeline, organized conversations with NYSBA to submit the policies, and we have not taken any action because we're waiting for board direction to give us the go-ahead with that. The process works that this particular team reviews the series of policies at each meeting. For example, we'll begin to review the 1000s first. We'll look at the changes proposed by NYSBA. We'll think about whether they're appropriate or not in relation to the stakeholder group and the student population that we serve in Newburgh, because you can't generalize that across the state. So once we do that, we then send it back to NYSBA for their consideration to make sure it still follows law and regulation. They then send us back another draft of the policy. We see the process then taking all the work that we did as a work group to the policy committee established by the board, and then the board makes the decisions. But we basically do the work behind the scenes in order for the policy committee to take and make decision on it.
Mr. Howard, you had a question? He answered my question. Okay. And as far as the board member being on the team, Mr. Shaw, how would that process take place? How would that be determined? Who from the board would be on that team? Is there a policy that governs that?
I don't think that there is. I don't know if there's history as to how that's been done in the district. No.
All right. Do you have a member from the board?
I do not. I would welcome one if one wanted to volunteer. And if it's okay, we'd like to start this work. We're now into it a year.
If the person that's on the team is also on the policy committee, is that something that shouldn't happen, or because then you're recommending it from the same person that's going to be voting on it?
Well, it's a team that's reviewing recommendations from the New York State School Boards Association. It's applying that to the community that we serve here. It's making those recommendations to go back to NYSBA for a final draft to come back to us. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be a policy member, committee member. I think it would be very appropriate.
Mr. Howard.
Okay, now I was going to volunteer to be that person on that committee, but you can go somewhere else with it. I will volunteer if it would be accepted from the board members.
Would it have to be even approved to be on a team, Mr. Shaw?
I think it would make sense for the board to delegate a quote-unquote board member to be on a team of an administrative committee. Sure.
Okay, so that would be at the December meeting. We would have to add that as an agenda item for approval. Well, it's not a resolution, just...
You want it by resolution?
What? Sure. It should be a resolution. Okay. Any other questions on this item? Okay. Move over to 7.4, BOE correspondence. I think this has to do with public letters to the board dealing with the day-to-day operations. Did you have a question on this, Ms. Boulay? Is this why this was on here?
I have a comment.
Okay. Well, this is just a discussion item, so make your comment.
So for the public, when you write to the Board of Education member, we don't respond. We are not the responders of those letters. They are given to, forwarded to the superintendent of schools, who will craft a response. We don't get those responses back on the board, except for one member of this team. Thank you very much. So we don't know the resolution to what you send us. So I, as a board member, I have no idea if something was solved, not solved. and what that response was. So it's very important, I believe, for us to, as a group, even if the response is, we're still working on it, we'll look into it, some type of indication to us, because those letters come to us as to what's happening.
Any other discussion on this item? All right, we'll move forward to 7.5, resolution to approve board members committee assignments 23-24. It is the same as the previous meeting. Can we have a motion and a second?
Motion?
Discussion on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Bergarelli?
No.
Mr. Duray? No. Mr. Howard? No. Mr. Lamar? Yes. Mr. Levinstein? No. Ms. Paletti?
No.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
The item did not pass.
7.6, resolution to approve community members committee assignments 23-24. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
Second?
Any questions on this item? Mr. Howard.
Yes, Mr. President. So, we had a community member this evening ask questions in regards to the how this would work. And we've been asking for the last 3-4 meetings how this process, how this model will work. And I believe you have a meeting on Saturday with the Christian Ministerial Fellowship, and they would like to know what this process looks like. What will it include? What is it about? They don't know. And we as board members don't know, because you keep saying we're going to talk about it or we're going to have that. Do you have a final decision?
I have explained this numerous times. It's the same committee structure as we've had for the last few decades. It's just adding a few more members that are able to ask questions. The community members will not be able to vote, but they will be able to ask questions. They will receive the agenda at the same time as the board members that are on that committee. They will be able to ask questions in advance, just like board members. They will be able to ask questions at the meeting. We already have a committee meeting structure. The committee chair creates the agenda with the administration. The committee chair runs the meeting. They have the best part of the committee assignments for the chairs is to be able to see how many agenda items that you can fit in with that 1-hour time frame, know that the committee agenda might have specific questions about process or legal questions, things like that. So the community members will not be able to sit in on the executive session portion of the committee if they ever have one, but they will be able to ask questions. So it's the same process as we've had for decades. It's just adding more people. That's it. The only thing that I would suggest to the committee chairs would be that the first set of questions should come from the board members that are part of the committee. Once those questions are asked, then the community members should be able to ask their questions, and then back to the board members for follow-up questions or responses. And it's a working group. So there's no real new structure for committee meetings. It's just adding more people and getting more ideas and hopefully having better solutions to the situations that our district faces. Mr. Levinstein.
So, Mr. President, can I ask that you write down all the things you just said? Let's make it formal and vote on that as the rules for the committees, for community members and committees. And this way, say for next meeting, we can vote on it. If or have a discussion at least what things people might feel comfortable with or not.
So if the same committees didn't have community members on it, we don't have any written rules for those committees. You want written rules because community members are involved?
Well, no, that's not why. You still didn't put a limit on it. Is it unlimited amount of community members?
We don't have any community
That's
members.
correct.
We don't have any committees. So for you to say is it unlimited, we have 0 right now.
Correct.
So once you approve committees, then we can see how it goes. But for now, you're going around in circles, you keep spinning the wheels, keep dragging it out. This is the last time I'm bringing community committees to the agenda. That's it. I'm not going around in this circle anymore. I'm not playing the games. You either vote it up, vote it down based on the discussions that we've had, and that's it. I'm tired of playing games because by the time we get committees, maybe it'll be January, and then we're into budget season. So, Mr. Howard.
So, Mr. President, that's simply all I ask, to put something in writing. I mean, we've been asking this for the last 4 or 5 meetings, and you seem to be able to express what you want this committee to look like, what you want this new model to look like. Put it in writing so people can vote on something in writing, because what can happen if you vote on something, then after the fact, you can say, well, I said that, or I meant this, or no. Put it in writing, which we have been asking for the last 4 meetings, and present it to the board to vote on. That's very simple.
It's the same committee process we've had for decades. That's it. Mr. Bergarelli.
I think a written set of rules that we have to give to some of these people in these committees who've never been part of a committee before, who don't understand Robert's Rules of Order, who don't understand the way we do things at board meetings, might be helpful. So that way we can hand it to some members who show up to the committee meetings.
What I think would be helpful is when we do have committees, the committee chair sits down with the community members, goes over the process with them one-on-one, just like when a new member of a board comes on a committee, the committee chair sits down with the new board members and explains the process. Any more questions? Roll call.
Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
No.
Ms. Paletti?
No.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
No.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard?
No.
The item did not pass.
That concludes my items. Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Mr. McLemore.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the Human Resources agenda, I have items 8.1 through 8.11 for your consideration on tonight.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Ms. Boulay.
8.1.
Oh, okay, that one's separate. I'd like to separate out 8.6, number 2, please. Yeah, 8.1 is not consent, so we have, would anybody else like to separate out any more items? So we're going to vote on 8.1 separate, because it's not part of the consent anyway. Can I have a motion and a second for 8.1?
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
No.
Mr. Levinstein?
Yes.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight Iron?
No.
Ms. Boulay?
No.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Yes. The item passed.
Items 8.2. Mr. Lamar.
It wouldn't make any difference in what I just voted, but can I ask a question regarding the process of contracts? Is it not appropriate now that it's passed?
He wants to ask.
I don't, if not, it's fine.
I'd suggest that you just write something to
Okay.
the president to get an answer.
So now we're going to vote on items 8.2 to 8.11 minus 8.6, number 2. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any questions on this item? 8.2 to 8.11 minus 8.6, number 2. No questions? Roll call?
Ms. Poletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Item 8.6, number 2. Can I have a motion and a second? Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Poletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
No.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
That concludes my items, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Ms. Roaring.
The Finance Division presents items 9.1 to 9.2 for this evening for routine consent.
Would any member like to separate out any of the items? Ms. Boulay.
9.3, 9.15, 9.16, and 9.22.
Can I have a motion and a second for items 9.1 through 9.24 minus 9.3, 9.15, 9.16, and 9.22? Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Any questions on these items? Roll call.
Thank you. Just, I wanted to make a note of the donation of musical instruments, and that is from a retired teacher, correct, that donated? Okay, so I hope as a board we thank her. And the other question I had, just a brief explanation, 9.23 is the county with bus patrol to provide the stop arm enforcement. And I know that it looks like it's not costing us anything, but I just was wondering what the safety procedure, the safety feature is for all our students that are on the buses with this resolution.
So the county reached out and asked us if we would consider participating. We already know that Washingtonville and Middletown have voted to approve that participation. What it does is it adds the camera to the stop arm so that it's recording anyone who passes the bus while they are not supposed to be passing the bus. It gives the opportunity for law enforcement to have that information and then act on that accordingly. It comes at no cost to the district, and it is something we can make our contract providers participate in.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Need roll call?
Yes.
Yes, roll call, please.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Yes. Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Poletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes. Item 9.3, resolution to authorize extra classroom quarterly financial reports. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second. Okay. Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay.
Just because it's the first time I'm looking at this type of a report, are there any limits onto the amount of money that these extracurricular activities could have? Like they range from negative numbers to all the way up to 17,000 on one of them for NFA. There's one for 32,000, something called GEO at a middle school. Is there any limit to how much money can be within each item?
We can share that question with your extra class treasurer and ask them to provide a response to you.
Okay. And just one more on that one. Under the elementary schools, if I just look at the totals that you provided here, one school is much, much higher than the rest. Again, there's no limit on, I guess what I'm trying to ask, pardon me, is like, is there equity among the schools, or is this from just fundraising? Does that explain why there's such variation?
This is a quarterly report that the extra class treasurer submits to the board. It is solely dependent on fundraising to fund it, and then it is at the student activity process to disperse it.
Any more discussion on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes. Item 9.15, resolution to approve non-resident rates for fiscal year 21-22 school year. Can I have a motion and a second? Any discussion on this item? Ms. Boulay.
Another question. So we're just approving 21-22. So if I'm a non-resident and was here in 21-22, I'm just getting the bill now. I'm trying to understand this.
So that's a process question we would have anticipated in advance. The state issues estimated rates, and then they issue final rates. What we are asking you to approve now is the final rate.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Item 9.16, resolution to authorize the transfer of funds. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay.
Ms. Boulay again. Okay, the longevity amounts that are in here, does this represent just senior staff, or is this for all employees?
You will see that these are across a number of functional areas. None of them are senior staff.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes. 9.22, resolution to authorize the use of district facilities. Can I have a motion and a second? Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay.
So a few meetings ago, we had a discussion, heard from Foster Town School being charged $80 per person for security. In this particular proposal, it's $65. So my question is, what is the variation in cost? Who sets that, and why is it different?
Mr. Velez.
Yes. When we provide this to the board, it comes out of the policy that we have. We have master library, the new school do, the policies are there. So we determine the cost is by that policy. The numbers are there. We use those numbers. If you look at this particular one, those are the charity to use the gym. And for security, I received a question earlier today about custodial staff. We're not charging for custodial staff because they're there on Fridays. So if it was a weekend event, we had to charge for that too. That's the policy.
Does the policy state a specific fee per hour?
I believe so. I don't have the policy in front of me, but I will review it and provide the information to Dr. Campbell to send to you. Yes.
Yeah, that would be great if we can get that information.
I'll do that tomorrow. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item?
I just have a, did we already provide something in the weekly? I remember this being posed before, and I do believe that we responded to this question before.
I believe we sent it to you once before, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because we have a repeat of questions, so I just want to make sure that everyone knows where to find it in the weekly, that we do try to respond, and I know that I remember us answering that specific question, but we will provide it.
Ms. Boulay.
Thank you, Superintendent. I read those weeklies diligently, so I must have missed that. I do remember an email, though, because I questioned this originally, and that at this time it would be discussed. That's why I asked it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay?
That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Roaring. Assistant Superintendent, CIO, DPO, Ms. Peterson.
I'm forgetting because I'm a little under the weather right now. I have one item for 10.1 for your approval this evening.
Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Roll call.
Mr. Levinstein? Yes. Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mrs. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Item 11, Assistant Superintendent Curriculum and Instruction Elementary. Ms. Moriarty.
Thank you, Mr. President. Elementary Curriculum Instruction presents items 11.1 through 11.4 as consent agenda.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Ms. Boulay.
11.4.
Okay, so we will have a motion and a second for 11.1 through 11.3. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any discussion on these three items? Roll call.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Item 11.4, resolution to approve contract with Maternal Infant Services Network. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Ms. Boulay?
So my question is about this organization. I went to their website, and it states that it's a not-for-profit established in 1990. The goal is to improve birth outcomes and reduce racial and gender disparities that result in infant and maternal mortality, preterm birth, and low birth weight babies. Sounds wonderful. So my question is, why not all schools?
Because these are the schools that get the 21st Century Grant. It's part of the 21st Century Program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this item? Roll call.
Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Yes. Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein?
Thank you. That concludes my items.
Thank you, Ms. Moriarty. Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction Secondary, Dr. Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have items 12.1, 2, and 3 for your consideration this evening.
Would any member like to separate out any of these items? Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes our items.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. Assistant Superintendent for Exceptional Learners, Mr. Baer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Exceptional Learner Division has item 13.1 for the board's consideration.
Can I have a motion and a second on this item? Any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergerelli?
Yes.
Mr. DeRay? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight-Iron?
Yes. Can I have a motion and a second for the closing of the meeting? Yes. Dr. Manning Campbell.
I usually don't want to stand in the way, but thank you for giving me that opportunity. I think it would help to move our meetings along. I know that members of the board receive this agenda, sometimes Friday or Saturday. So please, it would expedite for the public so that if you have questions, if you can ask us prior to, it would be helpful so we can be prepared to respond to them on the floor. But to come to every meeting and hear the questions posed as if, you know, the board members haven't had the opportunity to see this and we have not provided this in executive content is simply like a waste of time. So if we can just be a little bit more expeditious, if we have questions, you know, some of us see it, you know, I do meet, just so the public knows, I meet with board leadership days before the agenda goes out. And so we all sit and we look at the agenda, and then it comes out on Friday with members of this board having opportunity to see it. So it's not the first time that they're seeing it, and I'm just going to ask you that if you have questions that, you know, we can provide information to you before, please ask us so that when we come on the floor, we have the information readily available. I'd also like to take the opportunity to welcome you back in for an extended period of time, Mr. Forget. Thank you for your support, your diligence, and your professionalism. I, too, am looking for the long haul. Thank you.
Ms. Boulay.
Yes, I just want to make it clear that my intent when I ask a question is not just for the answer to be heard by me. This is a public meeting. Taxpayers' money is being spent, and there's several people who watch online. Thank you.
Roll call for closing the meeting? Oh, we have a
Point
motion?
of order, yes, I don't know the
Okay.
motions.
Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Roll call.
Mr. Duray? Mr. Howard? Mr. Lamar?
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein? Ms. Paletti?
Yes.
Mr. Straight Iron?
Yes.
Ms. Boulay?
Yes.
Mr. Bergarelli?
Yes.
See you in December.